Hey everyone, it's Jensen again. Time for another little thought here because we've got some big news out in the West with the Big 12 expanding officially. It was rumored for a little while with the four teams of BYU, Houston, Cincinnati, and UCF. It's now finally official, so I thought I'd share some thoughts on the new Big 12. Going into it, I think it's great for all the new schools. The big question is the Big 12 still a Power 5 conference, losing Oklahoma and Texas? And there is a distinction between the Big 12 and the rest of the Power 5 conferences in that the rest of the Power 5 conferences have that traditional power. You think of the Big 10 and you've got Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, Wisconsin. Not saying that they're all great right now, but traditional powers. Nebraska's in there. You have the SEC and you've got the traditional powers of Alabama, Tennessee, Florida, Texas A&M, Texas, Oklahoma now coming in there. They're very stacked there in the SEC, Georgia. In the ACC, you've got the traditional powers. Again, some of these traditional powers haven't been good for quite some time, but you do have the traditional powers that people think of. You've got Clemson, definitely recently, and you've got Florida State, Miami. I would throw in Virginia Tech. I wouldn't, and with this, I'm just talking about football. It's an entire different story when you're talking about basketball too. But those are the big ones in the ACC. And in the Pac-12, you've got your USC is the cream of the crop with Oregon there. Washington is traditionally a good one. And UCLA has been traditionally good in the past as the main power teams, you would say, in the Pac-12. And that's the one thing that is lacking in the new Big 12. And if we're just looking at those teams, we've got BYU that has won a national championship back in '84. And they've traditionally been an all right team since Lavelle Edwards took them over way back before my time. But and then you've got a couple up-and-comers like Central Florida has been good, national champions a few years ago, supposedly. I don't care if they claim it or not. There's so many schools that claim phantom national championships. Who cares? But you've got Central Florida, and then the other teams in the Big 12, you don't have that power name. And so are they a big, Power 5 conference? I still think that they've got enough quality top to bottom there with the addition of the four new schools that even though they don't have the traditional power that you think of when you're thinking of college football, I do think they're right up there with some of the other conferences. You can't tell me that they're not as deep, minus the very top, as the ACC or even the Pac-12. They're just as deep as some of those lower Power 5 conferences. And so I think that it's great. I think that with the structure, and especially if they expand the playoffs here, that one of these teams can develop into being that power, whether it's Oklahoma State or a newcomer like BYU or someone else. They might, if you get an automatic bid into this 12-team playoff, there is a good route for one of these teams to start turning themselves into like a Clemson. And you can walk through the conference if you get a step up on everyone else, and bam, you're a national championship contender every year just because you're a step above everyone else in your conference. I think that's most likely going to happen. Someone in the new Big 12 is going to take advantage of the recruiting and say, we're the new power in this new conference. And so if, who knows how things will shape out? Who knows what will happen with the expanded playoff and all of that. Maybe the Big 12 can jump in the alliance, or maybe they'll form an alliance with the SEC. I don't think they would do that. I don't think they're on friendly terms right now, but we'll see. Who knows what will happen? But I do think they are a Power 5 conference with those 4 teams. I mean, Cincinnati looks really good this year. Again, I think it's a good move. You've got the hotbed of Texas there, solidifying all your recruiting. It's going to open up for even some of Florida. I mean, it's a big distance there between Central Florida and BYU out west. But hey, like I was saying, I think in the last time, these conferences, they don't really care anymore about location. I don't think it's all about power and money. So I'm happy especially for BYU. I think of all of the schools, BYU has been the most Power 5 conference ready, for the longest. And no, they haven't been the greatest, but they've been, they've definitely been Power 5 conference worthy. And so hopefully this will help them in their recruiting, and hopefully we'll have some good Big 12 action here for a long time. Again, ranking the conferences just off the top of my head here, I would still say it's probably SEC is definitely top dog there. Then comes the Big 10, and then I talked about this last time. You slide Clemson out, and it's definitely number 3, I would say, is the Pac-12. With Clemson in there, it could be ACC or Pac-12, depending on how you're evaluating the conference. Most likely to win a championship, probably ACC. Deepest, I would put the Pac-12 a notch ahead of the ACC. And then whichever one of those, however you're grading it, I'll say Pac-12 third because West Coast bias here. That's me. And so ACC fourth, and then Big 12, I would say, comes in fifth without the lack of a true historic college football power. But I think that, like I said, I think the Big 12 probably has the most, is very capable of moving up and passing up like the ACC. Get one of those teams, and who knows, maybe they'll finally win a Big 12, or they'll win a national championship. That's not something Oklahoma or Texas has been able to do since 2005. So we'll see. Anyways, it's exciting news across the college football landscape. We'll see what else happens, and we'll see, what other conferences start picking off other schools and how it all comes out. Anyways, we'll talk to you later. Go USC against Stanford tomorrow. Bye.